Welcome to Voices of the Community, which explores critical issues facing Northern California communities. We introduce you to the voices of community thought leaders and changemakers who are working on solutions that face our fellow individual community members, neighborhoods, cities, and our region. This is George Koster, your host. This episode is part of our documentary series, From Bankruptcy to Reinvention, the City of Stockton, California. The documentary series attempts to provide listeners with the insights, points of view, and personal stories from the various voices of changemakers working to reinvent the city of Stockton. The interviews were conducted from August to September 2016, leading up to the election of Mayor Michael Tubb, who is our central character in the series. The interviews in the documentary series have been edited to fit into our show format. The unedited full interviews will be posted on my website, georgekoster.com, along with each episode of the series.
Well, I am in my second year as Stockton's first ever poet laureate. So this is my preferred art form, using voice, using the literary arts, writing, social justice, critical thinking. All of that flows through what we do and what I do.
In episode 1, my associate producer, Nick MaClindon, spoke with Rebekah Fenton about Michael Tubbs' love of the power of the spoken word and the metaphor of Stockton's rise from the ashes of bankruptcy through Tupac Shakur's monumental poem, The Rose That Grew from Concrete. In this episode, we feature the voice of Tama, a self-described hip-hop midwife and longtime friend of Michael Tubbs, who appointed her as the City of Stockton's first poet laureate. Tama, with her husband Aaron, founded With Our Words, a nonprofit slam poetry collective that has created safe spaces for young people to express themselves through written and spoken word and provided opportunities for at-risk youth to connect the dots between literacy, critical thinking, social action, and community results. With Our Words trains young writers and creates performance opportunities for youth poets in Stockton and the Central Valley, such as their All-City Poetry Slam, Poetry Book Camp, and Dream Out Loud. Tama and Aaron bring youth poets to spoken word competitions across the country, which many of the With Our Words members have won. Tama shares with Nick her experience of being the first poet laureate, meeting a young Michael Tubbs, and working together on her Dream Out Loud event and With Our Words work in the community to provide social activism opportunities.
Hello, this is Nick MaClindon with Executive Director of With Our Words, Tama Brisbane. How are you, Tama?
I'm fine, Nicholas. How are you?
I'm doing great. We are doing a interview for Michael Tubbs, City Councilman of Stockton, California, as well as mayoral candidate of the same city. I'm super excited as a hometown kid to be covering the story. Where did you meet Michael Tubbs?
Oh, my goodness. I met Michael when he was, 15. He was a sophomore at Franklin High School. And we were interviewing young youth and young adults for the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. And Michael was one of the interviewees. We were also in the process of putting together a group of young people to go to Sacramento to participate in the Black Youth Leadership Project, Government Day, mock debate, and Michael was part of that contingent as well.
Okay, so you met him as a 15-year-old coming to With Our Words.
Yeah, and he's worked with us as a poet. He's worked inside of several of our spoken word productions, in particular one that we do that's a tribute to the life and spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King called Dream Out Loud. And Michael would voice Dr. King in the segment dedicated to Letter from a Birmingham Jail.
Wow. So,
yeah,
he actually
out in that role.
Huh. And what is the main mission of With Our Words, and who does it help?
Well, With Our Words is the leading presenter in the Central Valley of programming using spoken word, slam poetry, literary and performing art in the mission of youth development and leadership.
Okay, so is it in Stockton, or does it stretch to other parts of California?
We are based in Stockton, but we service youth and young adults throughout the Central Valley primarily. And in the course of that mission and our work dating back to 2004, we've taken youth from here across the country. They've performed with opera, symphony, been featured on an HBO DVD, toured with classical music, shared stages with jazz musicians. We've done a lot with this art form and the youth in our region.
So With Our Words is definitely a cultural hub for the Central Valley. You're sort of an attractant for people to come in and cultivate their ideas.
And especially empowering youth voice through the arts.
Okay. Do you, Tama Brisbane, have a particular form of expressing art that you sort of maybe even thrive in?
Well, I am in my second year as Stockton's first ever poet laureate. So this is my preferred art form, using voice, using the literary arts, writing, social justice, critical thinking. All of that flows through what we do and what I do.
And do you think then With Our Words helped Michael sort of gain at least the open public speaking footing that he has now to help his, political career?
Oh, I definitely think that we had a small part to play in that, in making sure that Michael was exposed to broader stages, taking him to Sacramento as part of the group to be part of a legislative day, seeing what that environment was like, involving him with the California Youth Think Tank with Dr. William Allen Young, doctor and actor and speech and debate forensic guru. He runs a think tank on the campus of USC, and Michael went there for a couple of years. We also got him involved with the Children's Defense Fund when they were doing an initiative here in California, and that gave Michael a chance to interact with Marion Wright Edelman, and that was a love affair that I think still continues to this day.
For Michael's person, in your opinion, when you think he sees opportunity, where do you think his next steps are? Where is his plan of action in accordance of his reinvention plan for Stockton?
When Michael sees opportunities for Stockton, he's always looking for ways to make it reach the most people and do the most good for the longest period of time. And that's a connection that he's always making. It's a connection that he's always looking to make. It takes a lot of vision, but Michael also has the work ethic to back that vision up. That's one of the things I like about him.
How does a listener, both young and old, get involved with Our Words?
Oh, that's easy. All you have to do, you can find us on Facebook at With Our Words. You can come through me, Tama Brisbane. You can email us, info@withourwords.org. You can call us at 844-POET-209.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. One last question. What do you, kind of a big one, what do you see Michael doing for Stockton?
No less than changing its history by making history. Michael will be the first black mayor of Stockton. He will be the youngest mayor of Stockton. He will come in with an energy, a local view, and a world view that we haven't seen in this city, I don't think, ever. And because he's not only a product of the best of the city, but he's also a product of some of the more challenging aspects of growing up in this city, I think he's going to bring all of that to bear for the good of the city. I believe in that kid so much, you have no idea.
That gave me the chills, Tama. Thank you so much. That was great. That was an amazing answer. Thank you so much, Tama.
You're listening to Voices of the Community, which explores critical issues facing Northern California communities. This is George Coster, your host, and if you're just joining us, in this episode we're discussing the reinvention of the city of Stockton, California. The next voice in this episode is Brandon Leake, an associate of Tama and With Our Words alumni. Brandon is a spoken word poet who grew up in what Brandon calls the ghettos of South Stockton in a single-parent household with his mother, Carla Leake Gibson. Brandon shares his passion for helping youth to find their voice and tell their story through the expression of poetry and spoken word. Brandon has created Call to Move, which works with school-age students between 7th and 12th grade through spoken word poetry workshops, poetry performances, and engaging motivational presentations.
Because so many people feel voiceless, but I couldn't tell you how many times I'd be around 30, 40 people and still feel completely alone, completely misunderstood. And through poetry, I'm able to relay that loneliness and what's isolating me from other people. And in that, they can better understand me.
Please tell the audience who you are.
Brandon Leake.
Brendan, that was an amazing spoken word piece that you just started on the second annual Resident Reinvent South Stockton. So give the audience a little history. Why spoken word?
So I started writing spoken word in high school for girls who I thought were cute. And I then went to college and I met a man by the name of Michael Borns and saw the impact and felt the impact that his words as a spoken word artist left on me. And after having a conversation with him, decided that it would probably be the best form of therapy I could have to continue to write. But in the years of writing, you do it for catharsis. But what I learned, especially most recently, is that I can use my writing as therapy for somebody else and as bridges for somebody else. Because we're all human beings with different experiences, but we have communities of people who have shared experiences, who feel solo, who feel alone. And so in that, I chose spoken word. Well, actually, I'd rather say that I was divinely appointed for spoken word. And in that, I've been able to free myself from a lot of the bondage I've had and help connect bridges with others to lead them to freedom as well.
Why do you feel that words are so empowering?
Because so many people feel voiceless. I was not a super popular kid in high school, but I was well known. Everybody knew my name. But I couldn't tell you how many times I'd be around 30, 40 people and still feel completely alone, completely misunderstood. And through poetry, I'm able to relay that loneliness and what's isolating me from other people. And in that, they can better understand me. It has helped my social life because it's allowed me to be able to better relate with individuals. And then also, even if we can't relate, they can better understand and then empathize with what I'm going through. And vice versa with other artists. Whether it be painting, poetry, or whatever, I'm able to better understand other people through their art and through their life stories and be able to love them exactly where they're at.
And so you grew up in South Stockton?
Yes.
How do you see the arts, if you will, in South Stockton helping reinvent South Stockton?
For South Stockton, man, it is really the silenced area of Stockton. Like the redheaded stepchild.
What do you mean by that?
All you ever hear about Southside Stockton is the negative aspects of it, the drugs, the crime, the gangs, but you never hear about the beauty of it. You never hear about the triumphs of Southside Stockton. You may get that one comeback kid story, but you won't hear about the kid in Southside Stockton who was straight A student, doing well the entire time, and then just graduated and then went off to college type of a thing. You hear about the kid who messed up and then, now they're on a road to redemption type of a story. And so I think that art will give those kids an opportunity to express what they want Southside Stockton to become. And then not only that, express the beauty that they see in it. Because words have power. I really do believe that, like, in the same way that God spoke earth into creation, that we can speak life into this world. And what we can do with these words is speak life into Southside Stockton. Speak life into what it will become. Because the more people say it, the more people believe it, the more it will change into what we want it to be. And what it already is in some degrees. Because it's not this extremely negative place. It has its downfalls, but so does every place.
How would you like people in Stockton, as well as people outside of Stockton who read, it went bankrupt, Forbes, voted it the worst city in the United States, I think it was 2 times running. You grew up here, you actually came back here, it sounds like, as well.
Yeah.
So why did you come back, and then what would you like people to understand about Southside Stockton?
I came back because I didn't have a choice. I lost my job while I was in Redding, California, and then I ended up back here in Stockton, but I really do believe it was the best thing for me. I grew so much as a man in that, so much as an artist in that, and better understanding that, like, it's no longer, as a famous rapper once said, it's no longer about leaving the hood, it's about changing the hood. So, yeah, like, what I want people to see about Southside Stockton is that Southside Stockton won Stockton, California, an All-America City Award. A bunch of Southside Stockton kids and adults and products of that part of town went out to Denver, Colorado, performed a 10-minute spoken word piece, which I wrote half of it and choreographed all of it. And we won an award for our city amongst hundreds who applied. I think they narrowed it down to 15 and only 10 could win. Some former criminals, some South Stockton students, and some South Stockton graduates won that award. And it wasn't by chance that we won that award. It wasn't by luck. It was because we showed the true beauty of what Stockton holds. And that's hope, that's light, that is community, that is unlike anywhere else.
So do you feel like that created momentum within the community?
I do. Your average citizen isn't going to hear a lot about that. They're not going to see that. They might catch it on the news or read it in the newspaper and be like, that's cool. But what that does is it created opportunity for more people to be willing to invest here in Stockton. To say Stockton is something that we want to see grow. And so with that, I know of several places here in town that have gotten more funding due to the fact that we won that award. For instance, a company I work for, Child Abuse Prevention Council, now adopted Head Start here in town. And they got a lot of grant funding from the state and federal government post us winning to be able to continue Head Start. And a lot of them are placed in South Stockton. So now we're getting daycares and educational centers for youth in that neighborhood for working class families. And then not only that, but you see remodeling for schools such as Edison, Franklin, all South Side institutions. Something I would like to see more of, though, is I would like to see the city back its small business.
What would that look like?
Investing in South Stockton in something more than liquor stores. Something more than a Walgreens. Because, I love the fact that there's a Walgreens presence, so that way people can potentially go get their, prescription drugs there and things of that nature. But the price that it took was us losing a small business in Snow White. And that hurts me because that was a staple of a community. People went there on a regular to go eat and to enjoy things like that. And so investing in that community in terms of okay, what do you guys see needs here being? And then providing those in a way of allowing for the people in that community to work that out and to be able to be employed in their own neighborhoods, in their own communities, community gardening, things of that nature, which I know Stockton in itself is working on. If you look at San Joaquin County Public Health, they have a lot of programs that are trying to provide local community gardens for Southside Stockton, so that way they can get fruits, vegetables in their own neighborhoods. So yeah, keep the dollar in South Stockton.
You're obviously engaged in the reinvention of South Stockton. What would be some of the best outcomes? You talked about small business, talked about fresh fruit, vegetable. We talked a little bit about art, but if you're looking 5 years down the road, what would be some of the best outcomes?
Some of the best outcomes, and I'm going to do like a realistic idea and then a dream idea. My realistic idea would be that there is 5 new small businesses in South Stockton that are owned by people who live in South Stockton. That would be a revamping of the policing of South Stockton in terms of more community engagement, where people of South Stockton don't have to leave their community to meet police officers. And that would also be revamping of our educational system in South Stockton, so that way the people in the community are more involved in the education that their students are getting, in terms of more access for the parents to the teachers and timing available for them to be able to meet. Because working class families oftentimes cannot meet at like 7 in the morning or 2 p.m. with the teacher because they're at work at that time. Now my dream idea would be that Southside Stockton, actually this isn't even a dream, this could most certainly be a reality. Southside Stockton could be loved and cared for without having to change who it is. Because so oftentimes, you hear this term gentrification. So oftentimes, things are considered bad until they're gentrified, until they're turned into something that they never were. And so I'd like for Stockton to keep its rich history while still being admired for it. Because too oftentimes we only respect or revere something after it's gone. You see that with so many of our legends, like Martin Luther King Jr. People don't understand he was hated, maligned, and ridiculed while he was alive. And it was only after his death that we appreciated him. As a nation, there was pockets of communities who really loved him.
So South Stockton doesn't have to die to be reborn.
Yeah.
It reinvents itself.
Yeah. Hence reinvent South Stockton. So, yeah, that's what I really want.
And last question, what is there about yourself that most people don't know?
Oh man, that I am very insecure.
But here you are performing in front of 100 or so or 200 people out there.
Yeah. And that's a lot of people take that as confidence. It doesn't take confidence to do that. It just takes practice. If you practice anything enough, you can go up there and do it. But what I would like people to know about me is that despite my insecurities, I still go out there and I try. I still go out there and I put my best foot forward every day, and I try to be the best example of who God wants me to be every single day. And so with that, what I would like for people to know is that I am not some type of anomaly. I am not some type of chosen one or a select few. I am an everyday person, just like everybody else, and anybody can be like me if they so choose. And in that, it is up to us to continue to foster that in people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode of Voices of the Community. You've been listening to the voices of Tama Brisbane, the co-founder and executive director of With Our Words, and Brandon Leake, an award-winning spoken word artist. Tama and Brandon's art and work are all part of Stocktonians' efforts to change the decades of negative narrative into a healing and empowering narrative which perhaps one day, in the words of Tama, helps Stockton to learn to love itself. Voices of the Community is a labor of love. This documentary series on the city of Stockton's reinvention is a tribute to my mother, Josephine Coster-Wiley, who grew up in South Stockton and passed away during the production of the documentary series. My mom was a first-generation Italian immigrant whose family migrated to Stockton and owned a motel on the Old Charter Way, now renamed Martin Luther King Boulevard, in the heart of South Stockton. Mayor Michael Tubb also grew up in South Stockton with his single mother, Nicole Dixon. Throughout the series, you'll hear voices of community members who are working with Michael Tubb in both creating new organizations as well as working with fellow community members to reinvent both South Stockton and the greater Stockton community. I want to thank my associate producers, Eric Estrada and Nick MaClindon, as well as advising producer, Malcolm Cecil. please go to georgecoster.com to check out our next episode of From Bankruptcy to Reinvention, the City of Stockton, California documentary series, as well as our archived past shows, which feature community voices working on solutions to critical issues facing Northern California communities. Please rate us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast and share the story with your friends. Follow us on Twitter @GeorgeCoster and email us at george@georgecoster.com. I'm George Coster in San Francisco, and thank you for listening.